Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever it might be for you. It's morning for us here in Northwest Arkansas. I'm here with my buddy, Eric Howerton, and this is another episode of
Big Talk
About
Small Business. It's getting more country every episode.
We're confirming the worst fears people have about this state. That we're all just like idiotic rednecks. I'm so tired of how we're portrayed in pop culture.
You know, I kind of like it though, Mark.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, because
What's that?
it's like a
Scares people off, or
well, I mean, just they look over here at this shiny object, and then we do really good business, like we've proven, and we take over.
Yeah, but there's not everybody here is not an ignorant hillbilly.
No, not even close.
We got a lot of smart people around here.
Yeah, some of the best companies in the world, some of the smartest leaders. I mean, some of the leaders around here are incredible. They're perfect. They're perfect human beings.
I don't know about that.
No, I mean, they are.
I mean, other than yourself, but...
Well, I'm not even close.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
There's perfect people here, Mark. I've met them, okay? Where you shake their hand, and it's like something of my soul just got taken away, and a new piece of soul got put in.
Isn't that nice?
It is. It is nice. It's encouraging.
No, we do have some high energy people, and it's a very entrepreneurial area.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of common sense going for it.
That's right. And it's beautiful, too.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great place to live.
It's getting better all the time.
Yeah. Let's not tell too many people, though.
Why?
Because keep a secret.
It's not a secret. We've got like as many people living here as we're living in Austin in the late 90s.
I know, but
okay,
you're making it worse for us, though. You know how many people listen to this show, Mark? Millions.
They're all going to be coming here now as a result of this, right?
That's right. Yeah, you've ruined Northwest Arkansas for us. You got to recognize your power of influence and your prominence, Mark.
Yeah, right. A legend in my own mind, as they say. We got a lot to talk about today.
You do?
It's going to be fun. Let's start out a little differently than we normally do.
Shit, you're going to shake it
Let's
up.
just pull a topic out of the Zweicat.
Zweicat.
You know why we have this hat, don't you?
Because you weren't wearing it anymore?
I think it like sat on the rear package tray of one of my cars in the sun, and it shrunk it.
Can't even fit your head.
It doesn't fit my head anymore. It was down in our lower level conversation pit room.
I bet it might fit my head perfectly, though.
Well, you'd have to.
I'm going to try it.
You could try it. You have to have a small head. Try that thing on.
Oh, dude.
Does it fit? You look good in that.
Yeah, bro.
With your 1930s, 40s haircut.
And my mustache.
Yeah, that hat.
Does it look good?
Dude, that looks good on you.
All right, I'm going to wear it today.
Okay. You should do that. You're going to look good, man.
Hell yeah, man.
All right. You're following the lead here of the hats. Okay, here's the what we pulled out of the hat today. You can comment on this, Eric. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So I call it a marathon sprint.
Okay. It's a marathon. Because it's like sprint after sprint after sprint.
And then you do it forever and it becomes a freaking marathon. You run it as fast. You run the marathon as fast as you can.
Yeah.
That's my response on that. You know, I mean, because in all honesty, like it's a daily grind, daily dig, but then it takes a long time for things to develop. I mean, it's just always so much harder and takes so much longer, and it's more expensive than you could possibly plan for it to be.
Well, you were in the software development business, and that's typically...
Yeah, that is a marathon sprint.
That's been my experience there.
Yeah.
What about the other businesses that you were involved with? Would you say the same thing applies?
So I think that there's aspects to it. I mean, like on the service side of business, it can actually be less than a marathon as far as driving revenue, because you can get business pretty quick, if you provide good value and can articulate it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the marathon part to that is the relational side. Like, you really have to, if you land a job, like you have to respect and focus and prioritize the relationships that you're building and not freaking fail them. And to not fail people is a marathon.
That's true.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that you'd like. It's sort of a lot analogous to what you just said. It said, great service is just good service over and over again.
It's true. Over and over.
Then it becomes great because you don't have those bad experiences that ruin it.
Well, I think to the marathon analogy, right? Like you got to, when you do have, like if it's just a small project, like I've seen so many folks that are, like, hey, let's quit doing this service for folks because it's just, it's not profitable. It's just eating our lunch or whatever. And it's like, well, but when you commit to somebody, like to me, that's like my word is gold on when I commit to somebody. And if I fail, I make it up. I make it up. I make it up. Like, I mean, I will, just whatever the hell it takes to not lose your word. Yeah. And that's relational.
It's essential.
Yeah. Because it's kind of back to the old, example of how much it's like 10 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to keep an existing.
Yeah.
And once you have somebody in your system and you're working with them and you've had all these meetings with them, I mean, man, there's a lot of investment.
A lot of work with them and learn their process and
and to lose that connection. Not to mention the fact that if you have somebody that's been working with you for a year, the power of that credibility for your new clientele is massive. That testimony, that word of, the word of mouth validation to that is a big deal.
Well, I think that's an interesting point of view, the whole service, product development aspect, and then the service aspect over time. I think my take on that quote is a little bit different. It's not about short-term performance. It's about doing what it takes. Maybe it's not different, but it's not about your short-term performance. It's about thinking about the long-term for your business. What's best for that business in the long haul? And if you think about that every day, then sooner or later, the future's here.
Yeah.
And you've really built something that's valuable instead of just pursuing short-term profit goals, for example.
Sure.
Where you're just trying to suck as much out of the company or business as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got more of a reinvestment mode and thought process going on there.
It's funny, like when you think about that value over time, it's like that, buying a house, you can, like what's really the value of making sure all your walls stay painted and everything's clean and stays nice and tidy. By the time you sell it, like the value of somebody being able to buy that quicker, you have more folks that are interested in it because it's nicer. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get an extra 20 grand, but you're sure the hell not going to lose the 20 grand.
You may, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's maintenance. It's taking care of everything that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah. Because if I walked in there and house A is building well taken care of, house B hasn't.
Right.
House B, I'm going to negotiate to get lower because I got a lot of crap I got to do to fix your crap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's a good point.
Yeah, but in a business, if you're always thinking about that long-term value that you're going to have, like, do you have good processes? Are your books really clean? Can you read your business in the books? Can you, is your team culture great?
If you got second-tier management in place, yeah, all that.
Do you have goals and targets like we talked about?
Yeah.
Are you running and operating a business that when somebody comes to buy it, that they're actually buying something that's turnkey and can sustain on its own while they integrate.
Amen. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That ties in perfectly with what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Which is avoiding blunders in your business plan. And, your house analogy, I like that because I see people make a lot of blunders in their houses.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of remodels and renovations, as you know, and redevelopments. And so I would sort of liken it to making changes or doing things without a master plan in mind. It's like, I want that kitchen. I want to redo that kitchen. I saw that on Pinterest and I want one just like that. So you throw that kitchen in there that's got the navy blue cabinets, but the island is painted dark gray. And it's got, certain quartz counters and a certain type of tile in the backsplash. And it's got the, we don't need the pot filler like we had 20 years ago. Everybody wanted a pot filler.
Yeah.
Now it's got a drawer dishwasher. They're a drawer microwave. Okay. and it's got a 8-burner stove or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and just saying, I want that, and you throw that in the house, and it may not necessarily be what's right for that house.
It's
And
true.
then 2 years later, you decide, I really like that craftsman look. So I'm going to take my neo-colonial and turn it into a craftsman with these tapered columns on the front of it, windows with a certain Muntin pattern or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 3 years from now, we decide we're going to do something else. My point is, you didn't really have a master plan that you're sticking with. In the end, you end up with something that's not really coordinated and doesn't create the value that it could have.
Right.
Had you really thought about all those things and then implemented your plan over time.
Yep.
Business is the same way. You can't just react and react and
Yep.
react. You've got to have, you got to be paying attention to what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
The environment. And you do have to react, but at the same time, you've also got to kind of keep your
You got to keep the
long-term vision in mind, right?
keep your sales selling them to where the end destination is.
Yeah.
You're kind of talking about chasing trends, letting the trends get the best of you, without, and I don't know that there's like a written formula to it other than just maybe as an entrepreneur, like you're just, the way I love the analogy of being a mile deep, inch wide versus a mile wide, inch deep in your business. What you're talking about when you chase trends, you can become this inch deep, mile wide company to where you just have all this kind of cluster stuff going on. You don't really have a target audience defined. You don't really have a product or service that you're providing that has value to it,
is uniquely geared to that client or customer base,
right? Or the entire industry. And
right. I hear you.
There's
a lot of that.
Yeah, there is. And I think one of the big things to me as the entrepreneur is like, you have to consistently and constantly articulate the vision over every single day to your team, because they will get off track really quick because they're not seeing that long-term plan that you're talking about. Like if you're Mark Zweig and you're building this house, right, and you want to add a drawer microwave, but you as this visionary, you can actually see, okay, well, if I do that, then I also need to update this and I need to update that to match, because there's a long-term theme to it.
Exactly. And I know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And it's got power provided to it, even if I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because you have a theme that you're going for, like this.
Yes.
You know that if you do this, it's going to lead to some sort of Victorian theme that the house, the presence, is going to look like at the end.
Right.
But if you're slinging in through Pinterest, or if you're watching social media like LinkedIn or whatever, and you got these ideas, and you're not thinking that way, then you're going to end up with a big pile of nothingness.
Yes. You end up with a lot of disconnection and alienation and employees who wonder what's wrong with you and why you're changing direction all the time.
One thing, podcast videos, that company has a lot of that going on. It's like there's so many directions that we can go, and we listen to the market, and some of this is coming from the market, right? And it's like this idea, and we go over here and do this. But the consistent vein is the video market. It's like, how do we just become excellent at videos? But that means that we're not a social media marketing company. It means that we're not a branding agency. We're not a marketing agency, which it could easily morph into that. But my job is as a knower video. And so we help with the video side of things. Whatever's in that vein is the value of what we're doing.
Well, you got to know what you're good at and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
In any business, I think.
But at the end of the day, I could say to somebody that would buy the company is like, we're absolutely excellent with video.
Right.
Period. Like whether that's marketing it, whether that's distributing it, all these other things. But no, we are not good at creating your brand for you. We don't do that.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of things that we do in the video realm.
Sure.
And so it's hard to kind of keep the team to understanding that, that it's about that essence of the video.
Well, you're selling intangibles. Somebody said to me not too long ago, was one of my guest speakers. He goes, if everybody's selling, because you can sell tangible stuff you can hold in your hand, or you can sell intangibles, some kind of service. Intangibles are a lot harder. Okay. Because you've got to be able to sort of describe this thing in such a way. They can't just look at it like I can this can of A&W root beer I took out of your refrigerator.
Did you say root?
I said root just because I felt like it.
Okay.
Why don't we say our business? I mean, nobody says that. So I said,
why would I bust you out about saying root?
I said root beer. It's
but yeah, I mean,
but no, you can hold that.
Yeah,
you can look at it. It's easy.
Yeah,
sort of the company. I mean, the A&W root beer company has everything to do with this, but they've created it, and now it stands on its own out there. If I want it, I can buy it.
It's communicating on its own.
Yeah, but the intangibles are definitely, I think, harder to sell and harder to describe and easier to stray.
Yeah.
From what your intended purpose or audience is. But I think so. Blunders in the business plan. Let's go back to that. And you touched on it there for a minute. One of them is trying to aim at everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really hard to do because then it makes it hard to decide how you're going to promote it. It's so expensive because it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Whereas if I have a really tightly defined audience, I always like to say, if my customer base is anybody who owns a car, that's a tough one, right? Because we got 180 million car owners in the country. But if I said my target audience is 55 Plymouth owners, I can define that.
That's right.
And I can find every 55 Plymouth owner there is. And then I can find out where those people are and promote to them.
And speak to them. Exactly. With relevance.
Yes, that's very, very, that level of targeting makes your marketing so much more effective. I could send out a marketing message to the whole world for 55 Plymouth owners.
Yeah.
But that's only going to be 0.00001% of the total car owners.
Yeah. But
it's very ineffective.
But you'll be able to speak to them with some credibility.
Yep.
You can relate with them. They can feel relatable to that. They believe that you've already thought about the things that they like. And so all this product that you have is going to be more apt to what they want.
The problem with that, I mean, and that's so, I agree with you. I mean, I think a small business needs to define its audience as narrowly as it can so it can promote to them and meet their needs. But the problem comes into when that's not big enough to support the growth goals of the business. So then what do you do?
Well, I have my opinion on that is, and I practice this on a regular basis, is like I look at them as more campaigns or efforts, right? So if I look at the video market, like to your point, millions and millions of reasons for that.
And there's all these sub-markets.
There's these sub-markets.
We could give them 20 sub-markets right now in the next 2 minutes if we wanted to.
But the thing is you take that sub-market and you invest in that and you give it time. I mean, I like 30-day sprints personally on that, where it's like, okay, we're doing a holiday greeting video, which is the B2C market, right? But I've narrowed that down to where the team is investing their time and energy and efforts into that vein of promoting that particular market.
Yes.
But all the while, my sales team is over in different markets doing different things. And so I'm trying to test
an initiative. It's for lack of a better term.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say as a business owner, do I know what my strongest target audience is right now? I really could honestly say I don't at this point.
How do you do it?
I'm finding it.
So would you say that the best way to find that is through experimentation?
Yes, totally. I think it's
doing it and seeing how they respond.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I don't do is listen to naysaying. Well, that's not going to work. I don't believe that anybody really knows for certain what does work and doesn't work.
I think until they try.
You got to try it, and then you got to lean in heavy and stay committed. Even in the first 2 weeks, nothing's working.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It could be the call to action. It could be a statement. It could be a video about something. It's.
Well, and it depends too on what you're trying to sell. Not everything's got the same decision-making cycle. I mean, some things take years for people to decide. Other things they can decide instantly.
Right? Yeah, but you got to lean in and try to communicate that value to that audience. And then if you go through all these things, and I'll usually leave price as my last decision point. So because the team will come back, man, I think we're too expensive. I'm like, oh, no, hold on.
Yeah, exactly. They just instantly think that's going to create more demand.
No, man.
Doesn't.
That's letter Z, bro. Like
exactly.
I will change price after I've exhausted messaging, distribution channels, different types of marketing efforts, whether it's digital, I mean, all these types of things.
Yep.
And then it might be price, and that's my last ditch effort. And if that works, then it's like, well, you've already done all the other things to secure that market. But if it doesn't work, then it's like, okay, what's next? Move on. Next 30 days, go to a different audience.
Yeah.
You start leaning into that, and you start just absolutely, you put your eggs in a basket
right
at a certain time.
For a concentrated effort as an experiment to see what happens.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can apply that, and it's not always 30 days.
Right.
For some businesses, it might be a year. For other businesses, it might be we try that for a week. But yeah, I think so. The experimentation aiming at different market sectors makes a lot of sense. It's interesting to see how companies go off course.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder why they do. I mean, do they just not talk with their customers, you think, or their clients? Should you have surveys, or should the owners be out there on the front line interacting with customers, or where does it fall apart?
I think the best thing is owners stay on the front lines, man. Like you can't stop talking. Like, and that can, I mean, you can, I know that my previous company, after the company was built up, I still had a really core value of where I was listening to my audience, right? And I was in enough meetings and variety of meetings to where I could continue to have that vision as to what the value is that we're providing. And because it just changes so rapidly, and I think that if an owner just really steps back and gets out of the customer conversation.
I agree. I think it's a huge problem.
Oh, dude, because who else is you are the vision driver at the end of the day as an entrepreneur. You have to be the person that sees something, because you see the market in the beginning. Yeah. And the reason you saw the market is because you might have had one little thing that you could see there needed to be a fit. But then if you back out of that for even I'll say like in a month, if you take off for a month and you're disengaged, things are going to change on you when you get back.
I really agree with that, but I think so many, again, this is small businesses we're talking about. We don't always have the greatest people. It depends on what kind of business it is. Yeah. You could have a restaurant, for example, and you don't employ anybody who really has any business knowledge at all other than yourself as the owner, conceivably, right? And so you can't just leave it all up to them. Okay. They're not entrepreneurs. They came to work for you as employees, but you see so many business owners think they can back out. It's like, I want to work 20 hours a week. And I liked it what Jeremy said the other day about kinds of people who go into business.
Yeah.
I think it was Jeremy, those who want to work more and those who want to work less.
Yeah.
Those who want to work less are going to be less involved with the clients and customers, right?
Yeah.
And the front lines, and they're going to know less about how to make their product or service meet the needs of that client base or customer base.
The dream of working less and making more is an absolute freaking lie that every human would love, and every animal actually on the planet would love, to take the path of least resistance and not be as threatening. And it just doesn't work. I mean, it's kind of like a freaking gazelle walking in the middle of a lime patch. Oh, that's the fastest way to get there. And it's nice and pretty out here, but you will get murdered.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny. I like that analogy. I mean, you could work less over time and live better if you had passive income. Yeah, coming in from past entrepreneurial ventures or other investments, right?
But to think that you can get there in a year is,
or to think you're going to
not have to work hard to get there.
Yeah, keep your business growing and profitable in doing that.
I would even say you can look at the history of that. Like when a founder builds a really great, like take Larry Ellison, for example,
Okay.
started Oracle, right?
Mhm.
I mean, did fantastically well, but if he stepped back away from the business, all of a sudden that business could potentially start declining. And he has to come back in and drive that. That's why he stays at that decision-making part.
Some people would say he wasn't a level 5 leader. He was only a level 4 leader. He needed to be a level 5 leader. I mean, that's what they would say to you if you looked at good to great and applied that.
Yeah.
So Larry Ellison, in a way, failed, which is why he had to come back. Okay. And, they say the same thing about Steve Jobs. I mean, look at what happened to Apple when Steve Jobs backed out of it.
Yeah.
Now, the second time around, after he passed away, they've done a pretty good job, I think, maintaining the, who knows where they'd be, though. I mean, they're still like the world's most valuable company, I think.
Yeah.
But who knows where they'd be if they, if he was still around with the innovation and redirection and change.
Well, they come back in, they grind it. They know, I mean, like it just takes like if you just even look at them, the amount of work that they pour in, that's the momentum of a business, right?
Yeah, and that's the connection to the marketplace.
Anytime that I have not...
And the business, the integration of the market needs versus what the business does comes from that CEO, founder, owner person.
And they're in the business and they're working it.
Yeah.
And they're driving it. If you take the shotgun seat, I just think, like I was talking to somebody the other day, like a passive... to try to start something for the sake of having a passive income in any near future without the reality of that, you're going to have to work your freaking face off to get to that point where you are getting passive income, which might take years to develop.
Sure.
The thinking of that you don't have to do that is what we call like pyramid schemes. I mean, and none of those really work out well, except for the people that,
that started it.
Yeah. And it's but the people that started it worked their tails off on getting people underneath them.
Right.
For years, I mean, it's not like they do. And so to your point, I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are breaking out of traditional business. They've been employees and they have this pipe dream of where they think that, the company's making a lot of money. I can go start my own business. I have all this freedom. I don't have to work as hard. I can be with my family, take vacations. I can work anywhere and I'll still make my amount of money and life is going to be fantastic. And I'm going to be able to do that in 90 days.
That really works out.
I have not seen it ever work out.
It rarely does. Let's talk about something I think is interesting, is how some owners seem to fall in love with their product or service and then they don't evolve as a result or don't listen to their feedback that the market's giving them. What do you think about that? What do you have to say about that?
I think that it actually, there's a step ahead of that that will help you with all the product part, right? Like this epiphany hit me years ago when I was with White Spider. For the first 2 years, it was my baby, and then I had an epiphany of where actually what I'm doing as an entrepreneur is I'm creating a whole new personality, a whole new identity. That White Spider name, that logo was not mine at all. I completely removed myself from being a parent of that company into being a part of that identity. And so my personality and all my time and effort was just, a tenth or a 20th of what that company really was, because that company is nothing but a mixture of all the people that are working for it and investing in it. And I think that really helped me personally become more objective about that business. And so when you're an entrepreneur and you create a company, you're basically you create it with other people.
Yeah.
And you're just a part of it and you play a role in it, but you're certainly, and I mean, that can get all, cushy and soft about like it's a team and all that kind of stuff. But the reality to it is that there's no way that I can create a growing company that's bigger than me without me understanding that it's bigger than me to begin with.
So you're telling me that all the companies I had with my name in them Zweig was a mistake.
I don't necessarily.
I mean, maybe.
It depends on your perspective of it.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, the Swag's a freaking cool name.
Well, I don't know
I mean,
about
it's almost
that.
not like a name. It's like it is an identity of its own.
I don't know. It has been used as a verb when it comes to working on a house or remodeling.
You Zwag it.
Yeah, or Zwagify it.
Zwagify.
But anyway, it's terrible. So let's. How about the falling in love with your product or service, though?
Well, so I think
How does that?
Well, my point is like that if you have that base level perspective that it's not my baby, then it's not my product either. And
Okay, I see where you're going.
You know, I'm not in love.
Then you're not just wedded to it.
Yeah, like you have to be like, dude. Like my thing is like, does that product sell, or that service sell? If the market. The best testimony is when somebody uses their hard-earned money to invest in that little product.
I've always believed that.
Yeah.
That's why you can do all the theoretical testing you want. The best way to test it is do it, make it, see if you can sell it. It's just that simple.
Your best,
or sell it and then see if you can do it or make it.
Yeah.
That's maybe even better.
Yeah, and done that plenty of times, right?
Right.
But I mean, like it's the best. We talk about capital too, and you know, and it's funny when you can see this, and I've been able to see this over time. As far as investors that are out there, my best investors are my customers.
Sure,
it's the best money that you can ever have.
They understand what you do.
Where you're not paying interest.
Absolutely,
better than going to VCs and asking for money. Better than going mom and dad and asking them for friends and family around.
I hear you.
Better than using your savings account. If you take a market and people start investing in that,
right?
Then, but if they don't invest in it, then you got to make some changes. Maybe it's a lot of the things we talked about. Are you communicating the value, or is the price too high, or all these different things come in effect of it? But if you've exhausted all these things, guess what? People may not want your baby, your supposed baby, that you created.
That was explained to me once by a very successful guy who was not anyone to admire from an ethics standpoint, because he ended up in the federal pen for a little while.
Okay, yeah.
For trying to bribe an insurance commissioner. But he was an intelligent guy.
Yeah.
Just not necessarily ethical.
Yeah.
But he said one time, he goes, it's not always a marketing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just got something that people don't want. Okay. It's the product.
It's true.
There is truth to that, I think. You got to know when to stop thinking it's a marketing problem and start thinking, maybe I got the wrong product or service. That said, though, I mean, it's such a fine line.
It is.
The entrepreneur does what other people think isn't possible. They fill unmet needs, right? And that's level of pioneering sometimes takes a lot of education and a lot of sticking with it.
Yeah. Until
it gets traction.
So
that's sort of the counter action to the counterweight to the idea that the marketplace tells you everything that you need to do.
And to that point, I think that if I look at my confidence level, when I get, my career's been nothing but naysaying.
Yeah.
Sure. Like
I understand.
There's all these obstacles. There's all these people saying no. But my confidence is always driven from, even if somebody isn't buying my product, but when I meet with them and I can see and hear their reaction, like you can tell when somebody's genuine. If I come up and say, hey, Mark, I just came out this holiday greeting video for families. What do you think about that? And then when I explain the product to you and you're genuine, like, oh, dude, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily be the one that does it.
Right. But you can see the value.
That's a really interesting point.
And you get that feedback. That's encouraging me. Now, if I do that once, twice, 2, 3 times, and I'm in a meeting with people that I can, and it's not about what they say, it's how they say it. It's the communication. Like you can tell if somebody's really in love with you, right?
Yeah.
Like, are they just, like you have to be able to read that.
Sure.
From the human to human interaction. But if I get that confidence reaction over time, then I have in me like a confidence level that where maybe something's not selling and working, but I'm going to push to drive.
You've seen the sparks.
That's it
out there.
And now it's just, it could be
That's an interesting point.
yeah, that's how I kind of roll with it. But if I have a product and people are like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
maybe it's
no,
not.
cancel.
Yeah.
Cancel this.
Maybe that's not that great of an idea.
And to your point, your question is like, you have to be willing, just because you had something good going, and then you start seeing that confidence decline because maybe AI came in or new technology came in,
Or environmental change.
Yes, something. Like when you start seeing that enthusiasm from the market start to dwindle and it's not really special anymore, and you can like, oh, well, we're tuning a different provider and it's not a big deal for them to switch. You kind of you gotta be able to let that go.
Yeah, I hear you. Or supplement it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily pull the plug, but you don't also plan your entire future around it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can milk a declining market sometimes for something, but yeah, move on.
Or you find you have to be honest with a lot of times it may not be a completely new product. But to your point, like a supplementation, but like, what is the value? Your product had a value at one point. It starts declining. You can't be so bullish and believe in your product. Here's where the rubber meets the road. I don't really believe in my product or service. I believe in the market need.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I believe in the market wants something.
Right.
And is that something that I can provide them? Is it still valuable in their response? And if I can get some sort of glimpse that it's not any longer, or it's starting to lose it, then I react to whatever that product or service is. All that product and service is a fulfillment of a value for the customer. And I think, I love and we've said it before, but you write down your goals and what, if you have a goal to make $1 million, what service are you going to render for that $1 million? And then do the service first, and I think that you have to have the mindset, I am of service to people. Like I am,
right.
That is my job. It's not me being an inventor and innovator and being some sort of, genius and some glorious product.
Right.
Like you stay in the vein of, I am just giving Mark Zweig this value. And if I start losing that, then I'm losing my value. My product's losing its value. Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know that you really do. Like,
no,
it seems like that you don't.
Don't share your insecurities with our audience.
Sorry.
You're an entrepreneur of conviction.
I should feel very secure with this freaking hat on.
You should.
I'm mustache.
You should, and with your success track record. But no, I think you brought up something though. You just touched on it, and that is your goals and KPIs that one needs to follow in business to have a sense about whether or not the market is responding well to your offerings. Obviously, sales, revenue, right? That's a biggie. But are there other things that you should be looking at? Are there other quantitative metrics one could track that would sort of give you an indication of how the market's reacting to your offerings, that maybe would give you early warning before it's too late, before you suffer from a declining revenue?
Yeah, I do.
What would be some things that you think people should be looking at?
Well, I think today we have it pretty easy with those, with digital.
Yeah.
And with social media.
So like you can see how many web hits you're getting, and stuff like that.
Likes, shares, comments, especially the share side, reviews on your site.
Yeah.
The experience, like, are people participating with what you're doing? That can give you a good early indication,
But maybe you got no distribution channel for that, for social media.
Well,
maybe you should have, but maybe you have none.
Well, I think that's kind of the point, though, is like, do you have, if you're going to set metrics, are you participating in the platforms where you can get that feedback and those metrics in a very convenient way, in a very, analytical way?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, that's the problem with folks when they don't have and participate in that type of digital environment. Like, you're missing out on a focus group.
Sure. Yes, I understand. A virtual focus
A
group.
virtual focus group that if
Yeah.
you're paying attention to it, it's giving you basically there is a new world of indicators that are available to you
Yes,
as an entrepreneur.
I mean, and there's others that are sort of traditional, like repeat business.
Sure.
You know, what's your repeat business percentage?
That's a great metric.
Is that going up or down? I think, you know, a lot of these things are best tracked graphically.
Mm-hmm.
So month by month, and you can then see the trends. Are things going up or things going down? When you don't do that and you just give a number, it's harder for some people to pick up on it.
Yeah, and to your point, I think one metric that we always look at is churn.
Mm-hmm.
Like how many non-renewals, how many people just stopped using our service. I mean,
Sure.
we watch that like a hawk, and I don't think a lot of businesses do.
Yeah.
You know, it's always the client's fault because they churn. You know, that's usually the stigma that everybody has because nobody wants to admit being failing somebody, you know, even though they might be a failure, you know.
I think everybody hates to face that reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's always someone else's or the market's fault or something else. But I mean, is it really? Like, did we do all the things that we promised? Did we really work hard? But anyway, like from a metric standpoint, I think that churn, renewal periods. You know, if you have another thing is like in our business, like part of are they using the studio like what they committed to?
Right.
You know,
that's big in gyms. Like they know if people don't come, they're not going to renew.
Yeah, and the problem with a lot of the gyms is that they're like, well, we like that.
Yeah, because we couldn't accommodate everybody if they all came.
Right.
Yeah, but then they build in a higher churn rate and lower renewal rate.
But if you can increase that and you have a threshold that because you don't want them to churn out.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, when I say churn, I'm talking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that lower or higher than it needs to be?
Yeah.
It's a good indicator.
That's an interesting point. Now, also, some businesses, I think, one of my businesses I'm involved with heavily is a manufacturing business.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we don't do well at and need to do is track the amount of time and money we spend on warranty claims, because I think that is really a critical indicator. If that number is going up over time, then we're bound to have more dissatisfied customers, right?
Absolutely.
And then that's bound to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So by not tracking that adequately, and even that may need to be broken down, warranty claims for A versus warranty claims for B.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an indicator of what's going to happen. I think it's a KPI.
And I mean, I think any customer is not, even though it's a little bit easier to give negative feedback to a company through social, but and things of that nature, and people are a little bit more apt to hide behind their computer versus saying, but nobody wants to go tell somebody bad news, typically human nature wise.
Yeah.
But to your point, the warranty deal, like that's, if we know that most people won't want to deliver bad news to you, but they're using the warranty as a way to kind of repair whatever that is, and you've seen those things climb, and basically you're getting back feedback.
Yeah.
It's not as direct as you may want, but A, can you watch it? And then B, can you dig into it?
Yeah.
And call that customer.
Yes.
Say, hey, I see you submitted this.
Oh, I know.
Tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, that stuff's so valuable. Then how do you get the feedback loop back into the company? How does that?
We really try to do that with like social media where somebody complains.
Yeah.
Or says something negative, is follow up with them. Not just online, but actually try to reach out.
And people love that.
I think it can take a negative and turn it into a positive.
That's
okay.
I think that's the essence of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
That statement you just made. Do you really give a big enough shit?
Yeah.
For your audience, for your customer or clients, because I have had, that's been has carried me, even whenever you are my client. And there's this frustration, maybe you don't sense the value that maybe we're providing, and then you express it to me. Is my reaction as an entrepreneur like, well, you know what, and go back to the team, hey man, we're just not going to work with Mark anymore. His expectations are too high. You can take that route, or what really struck, what would happen to me in my heart is like, okay, I'm going to work freaking 30 hours straight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to drive and I'm going to prove Mark's.
I always had the exact same attitude.
I think there's something to that.
I'm with you. And if anybody was unhappy with something, I always tried to encourage people, just give them their money back and then give them something else.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, people who work for companies are hesitant to do that. I guess a lot of times they're not empowered. If you take a typical small business, the owner makes every decision. They don't feel comfortable making that decision. I mean, so in a way, that's really the owner's fault. They need to communicate that, hey, we don't want anybody to be leave here unhappy or buy something from us and be unhappy. We've got to make it up to them the best way we can, even if that means losing something or giving them something that they, quote, shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
You know, it's interesting when just kind of the psychology of it. I guess maybe the emotional part of it is that competitiveness, that desire to just not fail, not for any reason. Like I don't put a number amount to it. I don't put some sort of financial fallback, you know, and it's the same way with the product and service. I think that where you just don't want to fail somebody, like your word, my commitment to you on providing value to you, and for you to express that it's not valuable to me is like, I'm missing something. Something's wrong with what I'm doing.
I would say, yes, I agree with all that. And that's my typical orientation, unless the client or customer is just an unreasonable asshole.
Sure.
There are some of those.
Oh, no, totally.
That you can't please, or they're just abusive, or they want to take advantage of you deliberately.
True. But I believe that those are few and far in between.
I do too. Yeah. I got to believe in basic good human nature as opposed to bad.
And I usually go through about 3 rounds of me feeling the failure and trying to do everything I can. Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, this is unrealistic.
I've hit my limit. Get your shit. Get out of here.
Now you're fired. Yeah, no, for sure.
No, that's true. So how do you think you adapt your plan? You know, because all this you got to keep massaging your strategic plan, your master plan for where you're trying to go with this company, right? How do you adapt? How do you adapt in the plan? How does the plan accommodate the adaptation over time? Or how does the plan drive the adaptation over time?
So I think that when you do your plan, that it can't be so specific in a way. You know what I'm saying? My targets on my strategic plan are more aligned to just general revenue growth, the things that impact that, like meeting sets, calls made, you know, just some metrics that can be kind of universal in some way. And so I think that it's difficult, you know, from everything we've talked about, you know, not having a product as a baby, that you can adapt really quickly throughout those 6 months or that year period to where you're not like saying in your plan, I want product A to be this and that. You know, we actually did that in the last year and we found out that we were just wasting time tracking product A when really I just need to be looking at that top line number.
Right.
What is that? You know what I'm saying? And so I think that you can.
That's great for a service business like this, where you can really be fleet.
Sure.
Okay. And flexible. You just want the revenue. You know, you got so many people and so much investment in equipment and facilities. And after that, it's like, let's just deploy this the best way we can. Right. But if you got other businesses like a manufacturing business, man, you can't just change on a dime.
Yeah, that's true.
You got all this investment in inventory and process that doesn't change real easily. It's a lot harder to adapt to the changing market. That's easier if you're small than if you're a big company that's got a huge investment and sunk cost and its infrastructure. But, you know, I think you and I both come from a service background.
Yeah.
If you really come right down to it.
Yeah.
but not everybody out there is in that business.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yep.
I mean, all businesses do have an element of service associated with them, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
But some people actually have to make a product.
Yeah,
Man, that's harder to change on a dime.
it is. But I would
You
think
know?
that you have to, so we are developing some products.
Mhm.
There's some that you have your big bets, but then you also need to have a product line that is a little bit more flexible and dynamic. Like for example, in the motorcycle business, right? The bags and the accessories that go with
Oh,
it.
yeah,
You know what
sure.
I'm saying? Like you can,
Those things are going to change less in a way.
yeah.
Yeah, they're more universal
Mm-hmm.
than a specific motorcycle type.
Yeah. And can you find things that have a better supply,
Yeah.
a less competitive supply category? And then therefore you're amplifying, you give more focus on amplifying those accessories because they're a lot more adaptable versus your core product.
Well, it's like Harley
required.
Davidson. They had like half their space devoted to clothing.
Yeah.
In their dealerships and all.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to turn that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's truth to that, but I'm just thinking about that business specifically and just how even if we can see like trends in the marketplace, it's very difficult, even as a small company, but as a manufacturer to change as quickly as maybe you'd like to,
Sure.
you know? So, but it's essential that you're looking out there, you're paying attention to what the heck's going on in the marketplace,
Mhm.
and you're listening to your clients and customers. I think a lot of companies, having the owners involved on the front line is great
Mhm.
and irreplaceable.
Mhm.
There are other tools, though, that you can use, like your customer service inbox or
Yep.
your online reviews or, other surveys.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, we do a lot of surveying of customers and I guess, one could argue and say, well, some data is better than no data.
Mm.
On the other hand, how good is the data that we're
Sure.
getting? Like, where did you first learn about us? Well, shit. How many people really remember that if it was
Right.
2 or 3 or 5 years ago?
Mhm.
I don't.
Right. Right.
I mean, so people give you an answer, but I don't know that it's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't necessarily make your decisions based on that, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard, though. You got to navigate. You got to have a plan. You got to be willing to change over time based on customer feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go after the right clients or customers in the first place, the ones that seem like they respond best to your offerings and that you get along with the best, right?
Yeah, and you got to lean into that and invest
Yep.
in it, and then you got to
Takes experiments to identify them.
Yep, and then you got to be willing to change that once you hit the end of the road.
Yeah.
You got to release yourself from being so prideful about what you created
Yeah.
and blinding yourself,
Yeah.
and listen to the market.
Yeah. There's a balance. You've got to stick with it long enough
Mm-hmm.
to know that it's not right.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep, it's very true.
So, I think that's all good stuff. All right. We need to get to the LinkedIn Hall of Shame. I had a good one today that I thought was funny. One of my friends put this out online. He's a professor. Okay, he's a PhD. And you'll see the relevance in that when I show you what I had here. So he got a message on LinkedIn. He said, "Today I received a very special and touching message. It made me smile because it's literally 0% correct. It made my day." Well, I guess it's not 0%. I am young after all. And here it is. "Hi, Bill." The guy's name is Oleg. It's not Bill. "Thanks for connecting. I'm really impressed with your work in medical field. I'm passionate about helping young professionals and startup founders like you unlock new potential in their careers and business. If you're open to it, I'd love to offer you a complimentary session, blah, blah, blah." Isn't that funny, though?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so typical. I get these all the time.
The spammers.
Yeah, it's like we can help the University of Arkansas with your marketing. Like, dude, I get the completely wrong person here. I'm just
What a waste of time, man.
I'm a teacher over here in the strategy, entrepreneurship, and venture innovation. I have nothing to do with the marketing for the U of A. Okay. Or I get called Miguel all the time.
You do?
Yes, somewhere I'm on a list as Miguel.
Miguel Zwag.
Yeah.
Bad data, man.
And I get these Dear Miguel's letters. I mean, don't you think do these things work? I mean, why do people do this?
I don't know. It is a waste of time.
It sucks your time.
It's just a volume. It's just there's some volume metric that somebody. I mean, apparently some people respond to it and think it's a great. Which I think honestly is almost worth. Maybe we should have a show. I mean, for the small business owner that's entrepreneur that's starting out, because I spent a lot of wasted money back in the day. I mean, maybe I have spent my time at least on responding to an inquiry that might have been a little bit better than that, more relevant, because you just don't know. Like I remember when I started my magazine way back in the day, I spent so much on printing. And if I would have just shopped around, I would have got and learned it a little bit better. I could have saved myself thousands and thousands
I'm sure.
of precious dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe we need to have a show based upon like how not to get pulled into crappy
Time sucks,
and also bad investments like that. Like, what are some of the spammy ones?
That'd be a fun show.
It would be.
Yeah, I think another place people waste a lot of their time is interviewing job candidates who reach out to them when they have no need for somebody like that.
Yeah.
But okay, I'll talk with you because you just, bugged me to death.
Or advertising salespeople, or people that, solicitors, like how do you avoid that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's worth listening, though. That's the problem.
Yep.
Sure. You just have to really tell, based on, is their message, is it really aimed at you? And can you see that they actually did some research to figure out who you are and what your potential needs might be?
Yeah.
When I see that, I'm more inclined to respond than if my name's wrong. I'm not going to respond.
Miguel.
Yeah. I mean, Richard Worsham at Janus, he's got some kind of a stock 2 or 3 paragraph response that he uses to everybody who sends him one of these marketing messages as soon as they connect with him. Like, I was really disappointed, I have it here somewhere. No, it's really good. I love his response because it's very nice. I think I've got it in here somewhere. It's really funny. But I tried doing that for a while. Shoot, I don't know that I can find it. I used it for a while. No, I don't have it in front of me. I apologize for that. But anyway, it's kind of funny. He's got it ready to go. And he just like drops it in.
Just drops it in.
Yeah, it's like if you were really interested in a real relationship with me, that's would be
because a lot of times those folks won't leave you alone until you do actually respond.
Yeah, I know. They keep coming. I just ignore them now. We get so many emails. I mean, even here at Big Talk about small business, we get all these emails from people trying to get us to put their guest on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of those guest offers, they're not that great.
They're not entrepreneurs.
They're not entrepreneurs. They're parasitic
networkers.
Yeah. Trying to get out there and reach entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, that just bugs me. So I don't feel obligated to reply to every one of them, but some of them, they come back at you 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Hey, I noticed you didn't get my message last time.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do this, just say no.
Yeah.
And they'll do it again the next week.
Yeah. So, okay. I guess that's it.
That's it, man.
I can't believe the time has gone that fast.
It goes by fast.
It really does.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to get back to work. We got a very busy day. I started it with a 6 a.m. breakfast this morning.
Hell yeah.
Okay. I was up at 4:40 a.m.
Good.
Raring to go.
Love it. Those are the good days, man. Those are the ones you remember.
Yeah. There's a lot to do. There's a lot. I think the key right now It's just focusing on things that I have some control over.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the easier it gets to focus on those
That's good.
and disassociate from those that I don't. It's the serenity prayer, you know?
Give you the confidence or the strength to.
Yeah. To change the things that you can change and not worry about those you can't, and the power to know the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really true.
Yeah. Maybe we should start ending this like we're at an AA meeting.
Do the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
I could probably use that, actually.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks a lot. Again, if you are interested in sponsoring our show, you got something to sell small businesses, this is the place to do it.
We got a rate kit ready to roll.
We're here. We need a gold, or what do we need? A platinum sponsor. We need a platinum sponsor.
That's right. Run of show, baby.
Yeah.
Run of show.
What we may have opportunities for gold and silver sponsorships as well.
That's right.
For those of you who are quite ready to step up.
Yeah. Big Talk About Small Business brought to you by QuickBooks or
Exactly.
A&W Rhett Beer.
Yeah, exactly. Or Joe's shredding service or whatever, right? There's so many different businesses out there that serve businesses, and we'd be glad to promote you. But in any case, we're done for today, and we'll see you next week with another episode of Big Talk About Small Business.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.